A pen could kill you. This is a story of how a pen could kill you. Now, once upon a time, I was back in school. It was about grade 6, and all the kids were sitting in the class, and we were busy writing a test. Now, you can just imagine the stress of having that math paper right in front of you. Look around, you see 15 desks, and all the kids just standing, staring like this, writing. You look around, and everyone just has their head down. The teacher with the apple on the desk, trying to mark papers and fiddle around with files and that. So that we're writing this test, and some guy throws a pen like this, boom, up in the air. I think he was getting very excited when he was writing his math paper. Oh, x equals y, which equals m, but with the blah blah blah, and then he threw his pen because he was so excited he got the answer, or he scratched it out, he was angry. What happened was, this very pen, or that pen, threw into the hair of another girl, and just like this, barely missing her eye, got stuck in her hair. Like that, can't get it stuck. She nearly died. A pen nearly killed her, just from a math paper. Bah! Just like one of those karate warriors, and they throw the ninja star into your head or into your chest. So a pen is seriously, and I just dropped it again, a seriously dangerous weapon. I want to tell you another example, very similar to a pen. I was listening to this very interesting man speak, very tall guy, massive and strong. And you know these motivational people, they stand up there with their microphone. So he was telling me about how he was on the top of the Empire State Building. Now this is obviously probably a lie, but it's his story. He was standing on the top of the Empire State Building. Now I want you to imagine this. Imagine you're about 50 floors high. When you look down, a car, which is usually a big car, looks like that. Like a little pea drop. A little tiny speck on a piece of paper. And he sees all these cars down below. And he has a little penny, or in this case, a pen. Now he reckoned, and he was a scientific expert, just like Neil deGrasse Tyson, where we talk about speed warps and time loops and the future and time travel. So what he said is, if he took his penny or his pen, and he dropped it from the top of the Empire State Building, then by the time it hits somebody at the bottom, even if they have a motorcycle helmet, imagine a big motorcycle helmet, if it hits them, boom, the helmet would crack, and they would die. A pen is a deadly weapon. I promise you, if we get one of those professional knife throwers, in fact, have you ever seen one of those knife throwers? I was watching a video, in fact, it was a long 15-minute video of this American guy, big beard, like one of those, like really tough guys. Come into my ranch, I'm going to show you how I do my pen throwing, how I do my axe throwing, how I do my weapon throwing. So what they do is they'll get a log or a tree. Behind me is a tree. What they do is they cut a stump and they put it on the wall. Then they take the sharpest weapons they can find. Now, not guns. This is a knife sport, so they'll find things which look like a pen, a deadly weapon, but it's an axe, a thick, heavy axe designed for throwing, not for cutting wood, for throwing. So what they do is they stand back like this and they throw the axe, and they throw it, and they do their best to get it to stick into the tree. So what they do is, instead of just using an axe, now it's extended to lots of things. It looks like, again, usually an axe is supposed to be a small little machine or small little weapon, but they get massive axes. They look like a sledgehammer, as heavy as that. And these guys develop the forearms 10 times bigger than this, and I only gym like once a day. These guys have these massive axes, and then the professionals aren't the ones who use axes. Professionals use something called a throwing knife. So it comes in a set of 3 or 4 or 5, and they're small little things, just like a ninja star. And when they throw it, it spins. And they manage, because they're professional, they time it perfectly that it hits, and when it goes, it spins, and then it hits perfectly. And what they do is, just like with a bow and arrow, they can get it to stick right in the middle of that little piece of trunk. So now, what my theory is, that if you got one of those pen throwers or one of those knife throwers, and you gave them a pen, they could take this, and with their special technique, get it to flip, and then get it to stick right inside the camera. See, just falling now. Got to get it to balance immediately. This is ridiculous. I apologize for that. So as you can see, a pen is a very deadly weapon. I want to tell you a story that I'm going to make up right now on the fly. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese ninja warrior. Okay, the feared man of the land. He wore iron-clad suit, and he had a knife. One day he was in battle, riding upon horseback, on his steed, on his noble white steed. and he saw in the distance a young maidel. What happened was he got so flustered and angry that he dropped his knife. And when he came upon the maidel and he drew his sword as a sign of strength, as a sign of his warrior nature, he was unable to yield that sword to prove his status and nobility as a feared warrior among the land. And that maidel looked at him and said, "Where's your symbol of nobility?" And so what he started to do was he pulled out his notebook, because not only was he a feared member of the elite circle of fighters and warriors, but he was also a nerd. So he pulled out his book, he pulled out his pen, and he started scribbling down notes. God knows what. But it was his scripture, and that would form the beginning of his ideology. How to disband a knife. Why swords are no longer impossible. Why you should never use an axe. And he created and forged his own religion and his own script, which was to say that a symbol of nobility is no longer a knife, no longer a sword, no longer a weapon, but rather a pen. Because with a pen, it's unassuming. Look at how small this is. It's orange, just like a kid's toy. But I promise you, with that pen, that man conveyed his honor and respect. And that was how a pen became the most deadly weapon within the entire land of the Chinese soldier in his ironclad suit. Now there we can see a gate. A pen is such a useful tool and weapon that if you shove this under a big heavy gate, boop, no matter how big it is. In fact, the bigger the gate, the more damage this would cause, because it would get stuck in the motor. If you shoved this inside a cog, it would break. If you took this inside a Rolex, which is a $50,000 plus watch, and you took this and you opened the back and you shoved this in the watch movement, it would break. This little tool, so unassuming, is not just able and capable of serious damage and serious aggression or attacking, but it's also can also be used to cause serious damage. I'll give you another example. What if you created a trap? So, the way you would set up the trap is you have a doormat and this little pen sticking inside the doormat, so that when a person steps on it, the pen goes through their shoe and through their foot. Not that you should ever do this, and I do not condone this behavior, but it does show you how a simple little sharp point like this is a deadly weapon. I want to tell you one more story. Once when I was in school, this is no longer grade 6, this is grade 10. We also had to write exams, but I want you to imagine this. Imagine, even now speaking about this, my heart's beating. A big hall of people. Now, there were about 400 kids writing this exam, as it was a science paper. So all of us, you can just imagine, we were all scribbling and writing and being all scared and nervous about the test. And because there were so many of us and we all had pens and we were all nervous, every 2 seconds, we would all drop the pen. But it would make such a shrill noise because we weren't allowed to use cheap big pens. If you open it up, just like this, you can see that inside you might be able to shove a paper. So we weren't allowed to use this. We had to use heavy, thick metal pens or glass pens. So when people would drop it, it would go and break into a million pieces, or ding, 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 because it was a metal pen. Not only did it cause emotional damage, but it also created ear loss, which is why sometimes I need to speak a bit louder because I'm not able to regulate myself. That is how a pen is the most deadly weapon. Bah, 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 bah.